Your family and friends in your peer group and the people you spend the most time with have a huge impact on the success of your business and the quality of your life. Now, most of us spend very little time thinking about who's in our peer group, and this is potentially very damaging to our business success. Tune into this week's episode where we dig into why your peer group is critical and how to upsize yours to achieve better results both financially and with your lifestyle.
We're the average of the 5 people that we spend the most time with.
High-level groups often don't spend a lot of time at the pub drinking beer and talking schmack. They're people who really focus on creating their own future.
Sometimes the people closest to you find it the hardest to be real with you.
Most often it's acting and performing below the potential that you actually have, but you don't realise that because that's what everyone else is doing.
It can be really difficult to celebrate success, especially business success, because you look like a tall poppy. And then you say, I made $1 million last year, and everyone gives you a sideways look and says, you.
Not suggesting you get rid of your family and friends or anything like that. That's not what this is about.
How we actually, find these people better off than you, or they're further ahead in whatever area you may want to get ahead in. How do we find them?
Alrighty, welcome to the Profitable Tradie podcast. Tony Fraser-Jones here in the host seat with my good mate, co-host Phil Smith. How you doing, buddy?
Yeah, good, mate. Good.
Awesome. Hey, let's get into it. What are we digging into today, Chief?
Well, we're talking about it's really a funny thing how we tend to hang out with the people that are most similar to us. So, whether it's age or attitude, interests, political views, professional status, jobs, that kind of thing. It's all the kind of interests that we have that tend to bind us to our friends. And Jim Rohn has that great saying where he says, we're the average of the 5 people that we spend the most time with. And so, hey, these could be your family, it could be your friends, basically the people you hang out with, right?
And the thing is that this group can actually either build you up or, unfortunately, tear you down or drag you down. And it's often it is kind of not so much dragging us down, but holding us where we are. And we don't even realize that that's a thing. And the thing with this, I guess, is that, as you said, if you look at your financial success, your business success, probably most of your friends are at a similar level, give or take. But the thing is, we can actually choose our team here. Not suggesting you get rid of your family and friends or anything like that. That's not what this is about. But you can actually design the group of people you hang out with and be really intentional about the people you do spend time with, because that can have a major impact on the success you have in business. So I think that's what we want to dig into today.
Yeah, 100%. And I'm sure you got a story to kick us off.
I do. Many years ago, when I had a lot more hair.
Right.
I did. There is photographic evidence.
Sure.
Like I have about as much hair as you have now.
Oh, nice. Sweet.
And
I'll try to keep mine.
Yeah, you'll have about as much hair as I have when you're my age. So
and I'm like 80.
That's right, yeah. Anyway, I did a bunch of real estate investing. I had a business buying and selling houses, doing renovations and stuff. And, at the start, it wasn't going that great, to be honest. I was starting out, and it was tough. And we used to have this group. We'd meet for coffee on a Thursday, for breakfast on a Thursday morning. And I used to really look forward to meeting with this group. And I felt like it was a group that was supporting me and helping me with my investing. But to be honest, it was a bunch of people who just met because they weren't really doing much real estate stuff. And I think they were all going for the reason that I was going, is to get some support with all the real estate deals they weren't doing. It was kind of like a bunch of blind people leading blind people. And it never really did much. It just made me kind of feel like I was doing something. It made me feel good, but it didn't really move the needle forward. And I guess it was, those people were all kind of at a very similar stage with our real estate investing, and they were kind of like the 5 people I hung out with the most, and we were kind of all not doing that well.
Yeah. So not really pushing each other forward or
much
learning or helping each other.
But it kind of felt good.
Yeah, and you got an East Benedict, which is always a bit.
It was nice.
Fun. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And I think that's really what we're digging into. I mean, if you have the wrong peer group, you can definitely run into some problems, right? Like,
maybe not so much the wrong peer group, but if you don't have a peer group that really stretches you, there's no challenge and there's no example to follow, and I think that's huge. So we can't see what's possible. We kind of just focus on what everyone else is doing, which is what we're doing already. And you tend to, I think first. You think small, and as a result, you tend to act small. And most often it's acting and performing below the potential that you actually have, but you don't realize that because that's what everyone else is doing. And so also what I find happens if the peer group's not a really progressive and assertive one is it's easy to fall into that sort of victim mentality mindset where you can see other people blaming people for their problems or making excuses or being negative or operating in denial. And it's easy for you to sort of buy into that because that seems to be what's going around. So you've got to be really careful about that. And in your business, what can happen, and what we find is if you don't have a really supportive, active peer group, you tend to get weak business growth. You're all just sort of struggling along. And as a result, you don't get the lifestyle you want, the freedom you want, or that you should have, and that you perhaps could have if you have people who are stretching you more.
Yeah, 100%. And I think, if we do get that progressive and, like assertive peer group, that one that's really going to drive you forward, we have a lot to gain.
Yeah, well, the flip side is that you see people who will challenge you. You can see people who are setting an example, who are further down the road than you, and all of a sudden you're like, wow, that's actually a thing. I've got 7 guys in my business at the moment, and one of my friends has got 25, and I can see how he's doing it and how it's working. That's a thing. And so what it does, it helps you to think bigger. It helps you then to act bigger and better, and you can realize your potential. So I think that's exciting. And then my experiences of a really positive peer group is that you tend to operate above the line. They tend to be people who take ownership for their results. They're accountable for the results they have, and they're people who really focus on creating their own future. And it helps you to do the same. And that's really the winner's mindset. So I think it gets you into the winner's mindset. And then, if those people are further down the track, it helps encourage your business to grow, more quickly and more strongly. It helps you then to create lifestyle freedom. It's just way more fun too. Like if you're hanging out with people who are challenging, they're doing interesting things, and typically those people are doing interesting things in their business. They're also doing interesting stuff in their personal lives, and life just gets bigger and it's more fun. And you really, you start to realize your potential, which is exciting.
Yeah, totally. And I think that really just, creates that bigger future for you. So let's talk about how we actually do this, like break down what it actually means, what we're trying to get into and how we set this up. So where do we start?
Well, like you said at the kickoff, Jim Rohn, who is, as you know, dead just now.
Oh, here we go.
I mean, he's a really brilliant management thinker, but his thing was you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And basically what it means, there's a bunch of research out there as well, is that if you take the people you hang out the most with, and if you take 5 as a good number, and you average those people, you're going to sit in that band of those average results. And it kind of makes sense. And there's a bunch of theories around there that tell us why. Social learning theory, you kind of just follow the cues that they have and you start to behave in the same way so you get the same results. Even things like, network effects, you're in a similar network to them, so you've got similar opportunities. Or peer pressure is another one. We know at school there's a lot of peer pressure and we kind of do stuff to fit in with the crowd. Well, the same happens when we're adults. Perhaps it's a little bit more subconscious. We don't want to stick our head up too high because we, may not fit in with people. And we definitely don't want to be the rubbish friend who's, sucking at everything. And that probably helps us put our big boy pants on and do stuff to come up to a similar level with everyone else. So there's a bunch of stuff, I guess, theoretically that's going on. But you kind of know if you look around that, that's what it's like.
Yeah, 100%. And I think the thing is like it's comfortable in that zone, right? Like, I mean, one of the biggest reasons that you want to hang out with these people is because it's comfortable and it feels supportive and it feels fun, but it's not challenging or pushing you.
You feel like you belong, right?
That's it. And it's the belonging that we all need, as humans. Belonging is really, really important. We're social creatures. Even those of you out here saying, oh, I'm an introvert, I don't need social interaction. I mean, you need some, right? Like different plants need a different amount of water, but you do need water. And I think the big thing here is if you really look at it, your friends or your peers, they also want to feel like they belong. And so sometimes they'll actually hold you back without realizing it because honestly, they don't want to lose you. And they can feel like you doing better or improving in one area or another also is a risk to their belonging. So, you actually kind of hold each other back in a way. And again, just to be clear, like we're not just talking about business success here. We're talking about, lifestyle. It could be, if you hang out with a bunch of people that eat badly, you're going to keep eating badly. No one's going to push each other to eat better. If you hang out with a bunch of people that don't exercise, well, then you're not going to start exercising because that would be outside of the norms of your group. So I think if you look at your own life and business right now, take that average of the 5 people, you're probably pretty comfortable with it. It probably feels pretty good. But the question you have to ask is it moving you forward? Are you in the same position financially? Are you in the same position in terms of investments, but also attitude, in terms of health, in terms of, just expanding your mind to other viewpoints? Like, are you growing as a person in any area, or are you just comfortable? I think that's really the question to ask.
The thing is, it's cool to have a group of people that you hang out with, you belong to, and that's really important. But if you're not happy with the results you're getting in your business and in your life, and it's not tracking to where you want to go, having a look at the people you hang out with is an important thing to do. You don't necessarily ditch them, although if they're toxic, you probably should, because that's
toxic,
it's not great. And all of us, have some toxic friends, which sometimes we need to free up. But it's about how we can be intentional about getting a different kind of group of people who can actually move us forward, who will actually change the results we're getting in our business, because we know that this is a thing, and it's all about the example and the inspiration we get from them.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, should we look at how your peer group could hold you back, just so that people might be able to, see some of the signs?
Yeah, I think the first one that really jumps out at me is kind of weird, is that misery actually loves company.
Oh, yeah.
Negativity just loves negativity. If you think about gossip or complaining, let's be honest, we all kind of do it. I do it sometimes, and then I feel a bit shit about what I've done.
Sometimes.
Only with you, mate.
Sure.
About you. Sorry, to you.
Yeah.
Around you. Anyway, and so it's really easy to get into a mindset of blaming other people, and there's a group of people, and you think about, this happens all the time. We complain about our employees as business owners, or we complain about the merchants, or we complain about the builders who we can't get work from, and we kind of have this, I don't know, we just feel validated or comfortable if we can share in each other's misery.
Well, it goes right back to the schoolyard, man. I mean, if you think about the schoolyard bully, the thing is the bully always had a little crew of cronies that would hang out with them and follow the bully around and kind of back them up and also bully. But the fact is that when the bully was off sick and not at school, all the cronies suddenly became really cool to hang out with. And what you learn is they're actually not mean people. They're not bullies. They just don't want to get bullied. So it's easier to jump on board with negativity than to go against it, because we learn that if you go against the negativity, you tend to bear the brunt of the negativity. And so we actually carry that through into adulthood, where even though we're not bullying each other, if someone's negative, it's actually a much more comfortable stance to back up that negativity, because otherwise that negativity may turn on you. So it's a defense mechanism to just go along with it. And so I think sometimes, like, one of your mates or your peers may say something negative and you disagree, and you've made a bit of a pact with yourself not to get on board with that kind of crap. But you do, because it's easier just to go along with it and quietly disagree than it is to stand up and talk about something different.
And you think about the news media today, like it should never be called news. It should be called bad news, because that's all it ever is, and it always focuses on the negative. I mean, just as people, unfortunately, we have this kind of, if there's a car accident across the road, we love to rubberneck and see what's going on, to see the carnage.
Yeah.
So you got to be really careful of that.
Yeah,
because recycling carnage and talking about negative things does not really move you forward.
No,
it actually saps your energy, and it means you end up blaming other people, other things, for the issues in your life, rather than taking responsibility and sorting them out, which is, at the end of the day, you're the only person who's going to be able to do that for yourself.
Yeah, that's right. And so next one, I mean, honestly, people don't celebrate success. They can often pull you down. There's definitely a sign that your peer group is holding you back. Example I use a lot is you can come home from your sports game and go down to the pub and meet your friends and say, I scored five goals or 5 points or whatever on the weekend. Everyone's high fives and bum slaps, and then you say, I made $1 million last year, and everyone gives you a sideways look and says, you bastard. And so I think the really hard part is that often with your friends or your peer group, it can be really difficult to celebrate success, especially business success, because you look like a tall poppy and people just aren't comfortable talking about that kind of thing. And so as a result, they diminish some of the wins that you're getting, and they're not doing it out of spite. They're doing it, again, out of comfort and belonging and trying to hold on to you because they love you. But the really hard thing is that it gives you an outlet where you just can't celebrate getting further ahead. And unfortunately, you need that celebration. You need that resolution, or otherwise you can't get the momentum to keep winning.
Yeah, and sort of tied in with that is if you think about the 4-minute mile, Roger Bannister broke the 4-minute mile, I think, in the 50s, and nobody been able to do that for 4 years. In fact, people thought it was actually physiologically impossible for a human being to run that fast. But he did it, and within a year, 3 other people had done it as well, and now it's like the gold standard for any miler to do a 4-minute mile. Well, your peer group, they sometimes lack vision, which really holds you back from what you can actually achieve, and you just can't do what you can't see. So if you can see, someone in your peer group who has a business that makes $1 million a year, or has a team of 50 people, and they've got a general manager, until you see that in your peer group, or someone you know, it's very difficult for you to actually do that because you just don't sort of believe it's possible. So that's about, if they aren't playing a bigger game and you can't see it, that does actually hold you back.
Yeah, big time. And I think the next one for me is really when we think about that belonging and how everybody wants the group to stay together and we want to keep the band together, the hard part is that means that it really limits your opportunities for further networking or, further opportunities in business or life, because the thing is you're trying to feel comfortable and belonging with your group, they're trying to feel it with you, and so the group very rarely expands. Like if you think about your peers, the people they know are the same people you already know, that are probably in the same position that you already are, and therefore you never meet anyone new or have new opportunities come along because nobody in the group actually has that reach or that expansion to actually look outside of the group in the first place. So you stay very insular and nobody gets any new opportunity from it, which can be a real
that
shame.
holds you back for sure.
Yeah.
And there's one thing that I've found about high-level groups is that they're very emotionally aware and they're very vulnerable. So high-level groups, people who have performed very well in life and in business, they're very willing to share their mistakes, their weaknesses, their challenges, whereas people at a more beginning level tend to be very guarded about sharing what they're not good at because it feels like a sense of weakness. So if in your peer group you don't really share the challenges you've got or the vulnerabilities that you have or the things that are really difficult for you, that's perhaps a problem, because growth really comes from being able to share those things and learn from other people and realize that you're not the only one like that. And even understanding that is incredibly helpful for growth. So you can actually feel weak if you don't realize that everyone else is feeling the same challenges that you are. And those winners, the people that you really want in your peer group, they discuss how they feel about things. They discuss how they think about things. They get down to real tin tacks. And so if you don't have those people in your peer group at the moment, that's probably something that's holding you back, because it's not going to allow you to be honest with where you're at about things and learning what you need to learn to actually get through those things.
Yeah, I think that's super important. I mean, if you think about like different high-level groups, a high-level business group will be vulnerable with their wins and their losses. They'll show you their net profit results and everything that led to it, month in, month out, good or bad. A high-level weight loss group will show you body progress pics in their underpants, fat, skinny, ripped, toned, or not. They don't care. It's about, actually getting down to what's going on and how they can help each other, whereas, like low-trust groups won't do that. And often, the groups that are the tightest, like best friends, lack that accountability and honesty, which I think is the next point, is that they're unwilling to be vulnerable enough, A, to share, but B, to actually hold each other accountable to do better. And if you think about that, a lot of your friends and current peers, they won't call you out on your BS. They're not going to hold you to account when you don't do what you say you'll do or get the results that you say you want. And honestly, the biggest reason is they're too close to you. It's really hard to tell your best mate, hey, you know what you're saying right now? I think that's a weak attitude. It's not good enough. If you really want that result, you should be going harder at it. Like, have you really tried everything you said you wanted to try? These are hard things to say to a friend, but actually that's the most loving thing you could do for somebody. But it's funny how sometimes the people closest to you find it the hardest to be real with you. And I think the other thing as well is they can also find it hard to encourage you. A lack of accountability and honesty comes from your group when they won't encourage you either and hold you accountable not just to the things you didn't do, but the things you did do. And that can be difficult because, again, when they do that, they risk losing you because they fear that you might have leveled up and potentially moved on, which is actually not what happens. It's just you just need people that are going to be honest with you one way or another.
Yeah, for sure. One thing also, Phil, that I think we've noticed as people elevate their business, and they have to elevate themselves as well to do that, is they make different lifestyle choices. And so things like health, well-being, mental health, energy, mojo, are all things that people start really focusing on as they grow their business, because they know that business is a game of energy, and to have a really successful business, you've got to bring the energy. And to bring the energy, you've got to have the energy. And to have the energy, you've got to have a strong lifestyle and make some good choices around how you treat your body and your mind. And so high-level groups often don't spend a lot of time at the pub drinking beer and talking schmack. They're into health and fitness. They're into eating healthy and all that sort of stuff. And I'm not suggesting you have to completely revolutionize things, but people like that in your life really encourage you to work on the energy, the personal energy that you need to achieve success. And that's a real big part of success. And not only does it help with your business, it helps with everything else, your personal relationships, your marriage, your kids, all that sort of stuff, because life is energy. And those high-level peer groups actually really focus on the energy that they're bringing. And so that can make a huge difference. So if your peer group is kind of low energy, it's a bit lethargic, then you'll find that you kind of just settle into that low energy, lethargic kind of attitude, and that'll flow through to your business and your life and everything else.
So I think one of the big things that can really hold people back is, they can wonder, is this even possible for me?
I think that's a big thing. When you're thinking of making change, or you're not satisfied with something in your life or your business, specifically, we're talking about business here, but it applies to life as well, is you might know that change is possible for someone somewhere somehow, but do you actually believe it's possible for you? And do you believe it's possible for you where you live? And do you believe it's possible for you right now? And if you have the right people in your group, it can really help answer that question. If you can see people or be exposed to people who have actually done those things, it helps answer those questions for you. And rather than not putting the effort or just giving up because it feels too out of reach, like, actually, that's a thing. That's touchable. That's tangible. That's something that I can do. And then you put the effort into actually making it happen. So I think that's a massive part of why that peer group is super, super important.
Yeah, well, it's social proof, right? You start to be able to see other people that can do it. It becomes a lot more possible. Think about your 4-minute mile earlier. I understand that it's possible. I doubt I could do it right now. But again, hey, look, if I started hanging out with people that can run a 4-minute mile, well, then I could start adopting some of their habits. Of course, it's possible I could get there. But without exposure to those kinds of habits and trainings and diets and mindsets and everything, then it probably isn't possible. So you need to be able to actually have that support and social proof, and also pick on the different sort of expertise that those people have in order to be able to actually level up.
Yeah, and I think what you've mentioned there, if you're listening, it's not just seeing those people, but it's observing them. If you are in proximity, that proximity is power. I think that's a big part of this. Being close to people who do what you want or have what you want, you just pick up stuff. Like, it's the intangible. You just notice how they are and how they talk and how they go about things, because those are the habits and the behaviours that are actually leading to the result. But if you can't observe that, then it's very difficult for you to pick that up.
Yeah, 100%. So why don't we get into how we actually find these people that are, say, better off than you, or they're further ahead in whatever area you may want to get ahead in. How do we find them?
Well, I think the first thing is awareness, and that's the purpose of this pod today, is to be aware that you can actually choose the people you hang out with. You don't have to ditch the people you're hanging out with now. That's fine. Family and friends are important, obviously, and that's part of the juice of life. But it's about being intentional about creating a network or a group of people who can actually stretch you and help you get to where you want to go.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing. There's a bunch of ways you can do it. Local business groups might be something. So there could be people in local business groups who are further ahead than you now. If they're in your, if you're a plumber and there's a really successful plumbing business, and that's great. But it doesn't necessarily have to be a plumbing business, because past a certain level, what you need to grow a business is quite similar. It's more about growing a team and structuring it and getting the right disciplines in place and culture and leadership and all that sort of stuff. So it does cut across. Industry organisations are a great example. There might be a master plumber, master electrician, master bricklayer, whatever it is, your town, your city, your state, wherever it is, key into that. There's bound to be people who are further down the track where you can actually get close to these people and actually see how they roll.
Yeah, and I think when you're getting into these kind of situations, one thing I just want to point out as well is you do have to be assertive. Like there's a movie I really love called I Love You, Man. It's an absolute classic with Paul Rudd and Jason Segel, where basically this guy's got no mates and he has to go make a bunch of friends as an adult. It's hard, it's quite awkward. And I think the big thing is that if you don't push for those friendships and those connections and push to meet up and have coffee or catch up on Zoom or have a phone call, then it probably won't happen. Often we come across these people, but we never actually bring them into a group or a peer group because it's awkward to ask for that. So you might even go to these industry organizations. You might go to an industry event, or you might go to a local business group and you meet some people that are interesting. You want to network with them, but you just don't really get the continuity because you don't push for it. So I think just be assertive. And like you said, it could even be other successful business owners you meet in these kinds of places, or it could be coaching group.
That's massive, right? Like, we're a coaching business and we see this. This is one of the key planks of what we run in our $1 Million Tradie program, is to build a community of like-minded people who are further down the track than you, who have done what you want to do. You can observe what they've done. You can listen to their stories. You can be inspired by their successes. You can learn from the frustrations and challenges they've had, and it's incredibly inspiring. We have people who are doing $1 million in net profit, and there's people in the group who aren't even doing $1 million in revenue, and they can't conceive of this even being a thing until they actually see that these people, their bums point south like everyone else.
Yeah.
They eat and breathe the same air, but they can see that it's a thing.
And also that they've been where they've been, so you've got the guy who's not doing $1 million in revenue, the guy who's doing $1 million in net profit, but both of them have been in the same places doing the same things, and it just makes it a lot more real, and you can feel that it's possible for you, like we said earlier. So it really gives you that roadmap. It's
massive. And like I said, to sort of wrap it up, proximity is power, so get in a group of those people, and coaching groups are a great way to do that, but there are other ways. And like you said, man, we're not suggesting you ditch all your family and friends, although, maybe sometimes there's the odd one you'd like to on the family front. But just be really intentional about the relationships that you're nurturing. I think that's the key to it.
Yeah, and I think just on that point, it is very, very possible to still, as you said, you might not want to always go to the pub with a bunch of guys and talk some smack. Hey, look, I still love doing that. I love doing that, and I've got great mates that I'll do that with really, really regularly, maybe too regularly. But the fact is it doesn't mean that they're the only people you can hang out with, and so it's about expanding your network and your peer groups so that you can have different people that service different needs in your life. And it's not to say that they couldn't overlap. It's just to say that you need to be intentional about surrounding yourself with the right people. So it's crucial. So shall we land this plane?
So your peer group has a huge impact on you as a person. It affects your attitudes, your goals, what you think's possible for you, for your life, for your business, even for your relationships. And your attitude then affects your behaviors, which then affects your results. So surround yourself with people who can actually help you grow and that are just fun to be around as well. It'll make a huge difference to your business results and to the quality of your life. Thanks heaps for listening. We'll catch you all again next time.
See you later.
Congratulations on being part of a select group of savvy business owners who are taking their businesses to the next level. And to help you on your journey, don't forget to check out our show notes for a copy of our free book, The Profitable Tradie, and other valuable resources. Thanks for being a part of this special group, and we'll see you in the next episode of the Profitable Tradie podcast.